American Cornhole Association requires that platforms be a 24 by 48 inch rectangle of 1/2 inch plywood that is 2.5 to 4 inches off the ground in the front and 12 inches off the ground in the rear. The easiest way to get a 2 by 4 rectangle of plywood is to just buy one already pre-cut from a home store. First, find the center of the board and measure down 9 inches from the top. Mark that point and draw a 6-inch circle around it to cut with a jigsaw, or use a 6-inch hole saw if you have one. Personally, I like to run all of my wood through a planer to make sure all the dimensions are equal on all 4 sides. First, we're going to make the legs. Cut 2 pieces of a 2 by 4 to 13.5 inches. Next, using a miter saw, set the angle to 25 degrees and cut one end. This is going to be the part that rests on the ground. Remember, the long edge of the leg should be 13.5 inches. Next, find the center of the 2 by 4, which should be 1 3/4 inches across. Mark that same distance down from the top and use a scribe or a compass or even the bottom of a coffee cup to draw a rounded edge. I couldn't find a compass or a coffee cup that fit, so I just used a drywall scribing tool that I had. Using the center mark, drill a 3/8 inch hole. This is where the leg is going to bolt to the board. Using a jigsaw, cut along the line you just drew to make a rounded edge. Unfortunately, my jigsaw couldn't cut butter, so I used a variety of unsafe methods off camera and then fixed everything with a belt sander to make a rounded edge. This is what it should look like when you're done. Next, take the 2 48-inch pieces and the 2 21-inch pieces of 2 by 4 and put them together to form a frame. Drill another hole 4 inches from the edge of the board and bolt the leg to the inside of the frame. On top of this frame, we like to run a bead of glue before attaching the board to the top. Put the deck board on top of the frame you just built, making sure to line up all the edges flush. Since we're going to be gluing as well as nailing everything together, we clamped it all in place first to make sure everything is straight before using the nail gun. In our case, I was using an 18 gauge finish nail gun with 2-inch nails in it. To decorate the top of the board, we chose an acrylic pour finish. Since my wife is the resident artist, this is what she used. If this is new to you and you have an interest in learning this technique, we have a video on this channel that shows how it's done. I'll put a link in the description. We begin by painting both boards white. Next, the various colors that are going to be used are poured onto the board. Once everything is completed, they are left to dry overnight. Next, the epoxy is mixed up per the instructions, which is a 50-50 ratio of part A to part B. And once it is stirred for about 5 minutes, everything is poured over the top of the board. Make sure to mix up a little bit extra and also put something underneath of the boards because it's all going to run over the side. That's why this technique is called flooding. After you have flooded the top of the board with the clear epoxy, you can use a heat gun or a torch to get rid of all the air bubbles. Let the epoxy cure overnight, and then you can clean up any of the runs or drips the next day. The drips harden like steel, so after trying for a little bit with a knife to cut them off, I ended up using a vibratory tool and made it a lot easier. Now that everything's all cleaned up, it's time to install the LED lighting. I found a kit on Amazon, and I'll put a link to that kit in the description as well. Now it's time to test them out. I don't know if it's because the boards were homemade or if it was the New Balance 608s I was wearing, but my game really improved. Here's a close-up look at how the boards turned out. I think they're pretty cool, and you can see that glass-like epoxy finish really adds a shine and slick surface to them.